I do have the honor to introduce you to Mr. Hounnouvi, who's the Director General of the Employers Organization in Benin, with Mr. Beheton. Mr. Bennett, am I right? Good morning, Mr. Beheton. I have told the Dutch colleagues that I was very happy and honored to introduce you and to be here with you. There's a lady next to you. Who's the lady? Oh yeah, I can't see you with the mask, with the face mask. Well, we do recognize each other very well, and I've told the Dutch viewers that we are very happy to have you on this working group. We have lost Côte d'Ivoire, we have lost Togo, but Benin is there. There are 3 people here, and I'm very happy to see you here, to see you again. I say again because you do have a very good sense of communication, and Mr. Bernard is working as if it were working 24 hours or around the clock. And there's also Mr. Beheton, who I'm really happy to see here because you are the Managing Director of Investments in Benin. And this is exactly what we're talking about here in the Netherlands. In the NABC, Netherlands African Business Council, so the organization is making business with African countries, we have organized a huge online conference. We do face many issues to have a good connection with all the countries, but we are having a conference with Benin. Many Dutch entrepreneurs are very interested in knowing more about, in gaining more insight about your country, and knowing more about the possibility to create partnerships with you. So what I would like to ask you, Mr. Beheton, as we just heard Mr. S's in the opening speech, told about your role in as an African country in business opportunities. What is your role? Thank you very much. We're very happy to be here to talk about business opportunities in Benin. I am myself in charge of investments. I am an advisor for investments, and I'm also a managing director at the investment agency for import and export. This agency is managing all the investments in Benin. So we are the only contact point between investors and the Republic of Benin. When investors come here to Benin, they have to go through and to contact our agency. And I would like to talk about Benin and talk about investment opportunities in Benin. We do have quite a lot of time altogether, so thank you very much for these words of introduction. You're sitting next to Mr. Bernard, whom I know very well. We are friends. Mr. Bernard, could you please introduce yourself regarding the relationship with NABC and have a word on your function? Thank you very much, Mr. Jos. So we're working at the National Employees Organization in Benin, and would like to thank NABC for its organization and its collaboration with the Benin. We do have a partnership that has been existing for 3 years, and we are very active on many grants of training that we followed online or physical training. We have also collaborated to fight coronavirus. We're still doing this, and we're also collaborating with many agencies helping us to set up a website with the DECP, we are also analyzing, we're also digging into all the analysis and conducting research on companies, also conducting research, on social issues. We do have much social concern in our companies, and we have carried out a research that we have validated with you, and that we will be validated with you in the days to come. The president of our agency asks me to thank you and thank you, the managing director, who was in Cotonou here. We would have come to your country if it weren't for the coronavirus pandemic that we are going through at the moment. So we're very happy to collaborate with you. We're very happy with this partnership, and thank you very much once again for everything that you're doing. Thank you very much. So you do represent private companies in your country, and this is what we're going to talk about. There is on one side the social agenda, which is one of the most important agenda for employers' organization, but there is also the representation of the companies in your country, the business voice. What could you say about coronavirus? Coronavirus has hindered and stopped the economies in many countries. What was the impact of coronavirus in your country? Coronavirus has not been an exception on the African continent, but our governments have taken the necessary measures in order to block the spread of the COVID-19. We nevertheless had to face the dramatic consequences of the virus. All sectors were struck by the pandemic, but the sector that was the most hardly hit was the sector of the industry of hotels and restaurant logistics. Also, construction sites were slowed down by the coronavirus. No sector has been safeguarded. We had many measures for the staff, and in order to recover from this pandemic, we will need some time. And as I said, no sector was spared by this coronavirus. Our companies do not have the necessary turnover, and therefore they're not able to pay taxes. And as you certainly know, we do mainly rely on taxes. So the fact that coronavirus has hindered and slowed down the economies and the activity of the companies has had an impact on taxes at the level of the government. The impact is very strong. Thank you very much. And as we say in the Netherlands, but that might be international, we are all on the same boat. Coronavirus is there today, but there is always a tomorrow. And we will come back to this with Mr. Bennissan. But for the viewers, I would like to introduce Ms. Laure. She's there at the back, but she's the beating heart of the CNBP in Benin. Ms. Laure, would you please like to introduce yourself? Yes, Ms. Laure, and I'm a legal expert for the CNPB, so the employees organization in Benin. Thank you very much. Have you felt the impact of a coronavirus on your work in this last year? Yes, coronavirus has had a great impact on our work, and we do realize that technologies are essential of essence. We do not see each other physically, but we can still work hand in hand with our partners, among which DECP, and we have very much appreciated the collaboration with your organization. I hope the screen is not lagging, or it seems we have lost the connection with our friends from Benin. I have also received a message from Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire seems to have refreshed its connection. Miss Law, Miss Bernard, you're here. Very good. We lost connection for a minute. Thank you very much, Miss Laurie. We were able to hear you until the end of your sentence. Coming back to you, Mr. Bennissan, because we're all on the same boat, and as Mr. Bernard explained, economies is suffering. The economy of Benin is suffering. But when we take up some speed, it's actually to be able to recover most swiftly. What do you think? The coronavirus will be past history at some point. What do you think we will be able to do after the coronavirus crisis? So first, we do think that coronavirus has been managed well by our government and other African governments. Regarding Benin, we had the first contaminations, and rather than closing our borders as Europe and America did, we split the country into two parts. We did create a sanitary frontier border between cities and rural areas, which made it possible to contain the virus into the cities. We did not stop trade and businesses. We continued to do business with different partners. We did not stop transport of goods. All the people in these sectors were able to continue their activity on the whole territory, national territory. We did make the wearing of face masks compulsory in the whole country, nevertheless. So this made it possible for us to control the spread of COVID-19, and our economy was able to continue almost as business as usual. We did not close our borders as the other countries did, but because other countries did close their borders, there were consequences in Benin. We remained open, so we did continue to welcome freight flights with medical equipment. We also imported products such as, or exported products such as pineapples and fruit salads to Europe. And in our view, we're able to manage this coronavirus crisis smartly. We have also sanitized our public finances and reduced our debts over the past few years, And as Mr. Bernard said, there are many infrastructures being done, investments being done in infrastructure, in terms of roads and hospitals. So we're using money massively to improve the infrastructures in our country. This investment program allowed the country to continue moving forward despite Corona. So this enabled us not to face a too important slowdown of the economy in our country, and by 2020 we will be able to come back to normality. So despite Corona, you managed to maintain a stable, steady situation. And this is very interesting. As a small country, you are a part of a cluster with the neighboring countries, which are also struck by the pandemic. But we maybe have to remind you that here in the Netherlands, we are in a strict lockdown and we will have to recover. If you could please explain about the economic sector and the industries that are important in Benin and the opportunities for Dutch investors.
Do we get back to that in terms of the geographical situation in Benin? This can be a benefit for investors. We're near to Nigeria, we're near to a large consumer market. But beyond the hinterlands, people need to pass through us. That means that our borders were not closed, so we continued to work across the region. And even though the border was closed at Nigeria, there was still traffic between and across that frontier. So we have a trump card in this. We have a certain stability here in Benin, which people comes to our country and feel safe and can take advantage of the commercial opportunities, whilst understanding why Benin is business conflict are dealt with very, very quickly with intelligence. So today, this element is a benefit, and the business climate is improving with several reforms put in place by the government today, but the new investments have been improved, and there are many things to be explored today which require investments which are of interest to many countries to enable the major sectors who could be interested by investment in our area. And so, I'm not going to repeat what has been said, but this is a country which is strategically very important. And we are positioned in Africa as a country, and unlike other countries, we enjoy a maritime border, such as Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and even Chad, because there are countries. Chad has companies in our ports, which means that we are well positioned with everything respected to imports. And so We also enjoy agreements we have made with the European Union and the United States, which enables those who supply Benin to export certain assets. And so, as Mr. Ruby said, Benin has, in the last 4 years, undertaken lots of work to promote the country for their investors. And reforms have been undertaken to continue this work. And so there has been an improvement in business. And today we have many different and we also have a strength in terms of public distribution, in terms of processes, and the promotion, continuation of services which have continued across Benin to improve the environment for business. So this supports investors working in Benin, where we have promoted investments, and we are the sole point of contact for investors. So there are now a one-stop shop, and among the banking reforms which have been put in place, two important things are the investment code and special economic areas. Today, these investors have a very attractive mechanism with respect to the attraction for the appeal for investors of the Republic of Benin. So, for example, if you wish to invest in agricultural transformation, in industrial transformation, you can bring equipment into Benin if you are approved without paying import duties, no customs taxes. That is, and so you move through to an operating period where you have total benefits to the whole of society, which enables you during the export period to be protected completely for a period of 17 years. That is with respect to the investment code. In terms of special economic areas, we have created an area in 2020 and are developing this area with the Holland Group. So within 7 years, agricultural products from Benin will be transformed here to increase their value and have products of a greater value. In 2015, we had a production of 273 tons of cotton, and now we are now at roughly 1 million tons of cotton, and we are the first African producer of cotton. And in 3-4 years, we will be producing 20 tons, and people are interested by this. We also produce lots of coconut. We're the 7th producer worldwide. 160 million tons per year, 1,000 tons per year. Our agricultural produce has multiplied by 3, and The interpreter apologizes. Several people are speaking. But we will have significant investments in this area. We also have, so for information, we have enjoyed investment in investments in the last 2 months. And this also as form part of equitable investment. So all of this, we have also, through these investments which are impossible in tourism, we today have a sea resort being developed near Portamu in the Ouida region with a seaside resort which has an investment of 50 billion to create an area where people can swim in the sea. So in this entire region, we'll be able to start working very strongly where people will be able to swim in a bay. So we've already worked with Club Med to build, and Club Med will operate that. There are lots of opportunities for investment. I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I will come back to you, of course, because we can see clearly that you are not just a director of investments, but you are there to promote Benin. And I would like to thank you for that, because we have just seen Mr. Stéphane Akamumbi, who represents the Côte d'Ivoire management side. Hello. Hello, how are you? Very good. It's a pleasure to see you. We were already having a very animated discussion with our friends from Benin. And so we have been speaking at this round table to tell our Dutch friends because you are from a very interesting continent. Maybe you could tell us, and at the same time, maybe you could explain to our viewers what matters always relate to the private sector in Africa. Thank you, Jos. Thank you hello to my colleagues in Benin. I am Mr. Akandu Stéphane. I am Executive Director of the Confederation of Businesses in Côte d'Ivoire, the management organization in Côte d'Ivoire. Beforehand, I worked more in government on African integration. So I have to say I'm a committed West African for government and now for businesses. The CGC is a management organization with two types of members. We've got from different sectors of activity, banking, insurance. We even have binational chambers of commerce who are members of the CGC, such as the France Côte d'Ivoire Chamber of Commerce. And we also have companies, around 200 companies. So in total, there are around 350 companies in our organization. 80% of Côte d'Ivoire's tax income, 400,000 jobs. In other words, half of formal jobs in Côte d'Ivoire. So lots of informal sectors as well. So as I said, our main contacts with the public sector, which means that we take part in more than 200 representatives on public-private dialogue with the state. That is what I had to tell you about the CGC. Like any management organization. Our first activity is advocacy, and to do so, we have 11 commissions to discuss business environment, fiscality, finance, energy, digital transformation, jobs, training, CSR, and of course we also have, which isn't necessarily that sensible for business organization, we have developed services for members, international support, strengthening capacity, access to finance, and services to improve business competitiveness. So with respect to business, we have got a Center for Developing Businesses, creating developing jobs every year, mainly focused on finance and strengthening capacity. So briefly, that is what I can tell you. The three key studies that we have undertaken to undertake discussions to develop this sector over the last 5 years. We carried out a study to promote national champions to develop business across Côte d'Ivoire, which is working well with the state. And then we carried out a study on fiscal reforms in Côte d'Ivoire, which is not going very quickly. We have identified 75 measures to be implemented to improve the development fiscality. And the last thing that we have done is a study, a white paper on industrialization in Côte d'Ivoire, where we identified 7 areas where we could have a sector-based approach and a geographical approach as well, because we are trying to create this white paper to demonstrate how free zones can be used to develop economic activity within the country. And Jos, that is what I can tell you as an introduction. Maybe one last thing, because we've spoken about COVID. We were very active in March in creating a web page about things to be done during the COVID period. And then we created a survey with an email address where all companies, whether they were members or not, who contacted elected representatives to describe what they wanted the state to do. We created a document with 35 measures which we sent to the state, and 80% of the measures taken by the state in Côte d'Ivoire reflected what the CGC had suggested. But the state went beyond that by proposing measures that we had not suggested. Some worked, some less well, but I can come back to this. There you are. That is what I could say as an introduction. That was a very good introduction. Thank you very much. Our friends in Benin, especially Mr. Yameogo, responsible for investments in the country, explained clearly why Benin is an interesting country for investors. And when speaking of Côte d'Ivoire, for its cocoa, for example, and the port of Abidjan is a strong port with links to Rotterdam in terms of infrastructure. So for Dutch investors with respect to business, with COVID, we've been able to manage the impact more or less of this virus. And how can we develop the economy by continuing to work together? But what are the elements needed in Côte d'Ivoire to support this? So thank you, Jos. Indeed, as you said, when you look at exports from Côte d'Ivoire to the Netherlands, what we can see is cocoa transformed products, packs, and butter, and cocoa oil, even powder as well. A little gold too, and then there's rubber and coffee all as well. So these goes to the Netherlands Does it go to the ports of the Netherlands or to the consumers or Dutch businesses? That is another question, because it is the port to the European Union. Like lots of countries, like our friends in Benin, like countries in West Africa who are seeking to not to be siloed as expert roles as exporters of raw materials, to really make progress in terms of added value and in terms of transformation. Of course, the Côte d'Ivoire economy is based on agriculture, and we are moving towards industry. To do so, I think that investors that we are looking for are seeking to improve the transformation of agro-food products. That is the first sector, and I think that if we are speaking in agriculture, the Netherlands is known for having a lot of water. So the problem in Côte d'Ivoire is that agriculture is not productive enough. Everything grows in Côte d'Ivoire. Without much fertilizer, and maybe this is a sort of benediction of the soil, which requires an improvement by humankind to improve productivity. What can be improved in terms of productivity? Everything that can be done to support investors, to help them to improve the transformation of products, either to export them to Europe or indeed to export them to hinter regions, because we work a lot with these two areas. I'll get back to this, but also in terms of service, I would like to say training. Suitable training, jobs is something which puts a brake on development in our countries. And so I admit that I have not clearly looked at the strength of the Netherlands, but in terms of services, the question of education is something which interests us too. And so the assembly, the construction industry is something that we are going to examine. The state of Côte d'Ivoire is focused on transformation, on coconut, for where we are the first African producer, almost global, I think second worldwide. In terms of aquaculture too, there is a lot of potential there, and that is for the local market. So to get back to free trade agreements, I think Jos knows that we have a partnership agreement with the European Union, which means that we have been implementing and enjoying the fruits of this for more than 10 years and importing for the last 2 years, which means that progressively customs tariffs and somebody setting up in our country to export to Europe does not pay import duties, and is similar to our friends in Benin. And conversely, we have starting to do the same to products imported from the Netherlands. The other benefits are a bit like Benin, the investment code. As you know, we are a very open country, Côte d'Ivoire, very, very open, and investments mean that we are happy to encourage overseas investors. That is some information that I can give you to demonstrate the appeal of the Côte d'Ivoire for overseas investments. Thank you very much for sharing all that with us, because the viewers in the Netherlands maybe do not know the potential of the region. And when we speak of region, we're speaking about French-speaking countries, English-speaking countries, as we have already heard from Benin. It's not just Benin, but also Nigeria, and Benin, who are big suppliers. So there are opportunities to transform. So when I think about the appeal for Dutch investors, we have to say that maybe there is potential. There is indeed a lot of potential for open countries, but in terms of security and stability, what is promising there? So, with respect to security and stability, it is true that we have some spots where there is, in the hinterlands, where there is a bit of terrorism, particularly in Nigeria and Bali, Burkina Faso. This is information which is available and which we can't hide. However, but there are a certain number of countries in the sub-region, particularly Benin, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, and so on. Benin is a country which is stable in political terms. It's a democratic country, and in the last 2 years, we have implemented a great deal of measures for defense and security, and have a policy and so we have a very professional police force which has enabled us to reduce events by 90% across the entire country. But we can move to all. You can cross across the entire country without being stopped by the police or indeed by anybody else. And so the CDAO, which Benin is a part of. So in Benin, we cannot say that it is a country which is. This is certainly a country which has a certain level of security, physical security. But today we have systems in place to enable, to professionalize, and to contribute to the security of our country. And we also have municipal police in urban areas. That is physical security, but there is also business security across ordinary tribunals. And in terms of health, we have gentle temperatures which enable people to live comfortably, and so in our climate, means that we are an attractive destination, and we have an infrastructure in place to enable companies to be established very quickly, because the business formalities to set up a company today are very, very easy. So we have put in place national measurements to fight against corruption, so that people can establish companies easily. And this is happening across the entire country, but investors we've spoken about the agro industry, we've spoken about a certain number of zones. If we can transform raw materials, we need to have opportunities in our country for economies. But COVID has encouraged us to work from home. And there are lots of materials which we can work. So we have a presence inside the country. The interpreter apologizes. The gentleman's voice is very blurred. The interpreter apologizes. His voice is very blurred. There we go. Thank Mr. Bernard. Thank you very much. We need to thank all of you because we're reaching the end of our meeting. Unfortunately, we had a connection problem with our friends from Togo, but we've learned much about the potential of the region and, of course, the countries of the region. And as a Dutch person, I have learned that there are countries across the region with human values, but at the same time, there is an economic potential which opens this up for Dutch investors. And there are opportunities for working together to increase cooperation between our countries, because it is true that there are challenges, there are magnificent challenges, but I'm convinced that after the impact of the coronavirus has reduced, and I will be very pleased to see you again. I can't wait. But Dutch investors cannot wait for this to be finished. But to promote in your countries, for the potential of your countries, we'll provide information with the help of the businesses in the countries and the sub-region. Thank you very much, Madame Roy, who is far from Mr. Bernard, but you are the heart of the beating heart of the business sector in Benin. And thank you very much, Mr. Bernard, who always manages to invite important people, and Stéphane Outi alone representing the country across Côte d'Ivoire to the CGC, who has got potential, and I can't wait to see you again. And let's keep in touch. Thank you very much. I wish you a good day, and I hope to see you soon. See you soon, everybody. See you soon, viewers. Have a good day. Thank you very much, and goodbye.